Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
Today's episodes we're going to be talking about are Silver Chariot and Dark Blue Moon, but before we get into that, it would be super cool if maybe y'all could take a minute to maybe even pause the show and leave us a review or subscribe to the show if you haven't already.
So if you write us a review, we may read it on the podcast. So this one was from this past July. Ridiculous Patronus 1 wrote, "Excellent, 5 stars. Powerpuff Girls were actually my childhood, and thinking about MoJo JoJo really took me back. These ladies are always great. I really liked the new episode diving into a double episode called Tough Love. These ladies really dive into detail, including air date and the build-up for when it was released. If you're a Powerpuff Girls fan, it's a must add to your playlist." So we would just like to get some feedback, like what would you like to hear, or like what parts do you really like? You can talk about the particular episode, and the reviews and the ratings get our podcast shown to more people as well.
And we just like to reach a wider audience, and the more people we get listening, the better. And we'd like to eventually monetize the show, maybe have like some merch. So I am going to start talking about the first episode from the set, which is called Silver Chariot. Avdol tells Polnareff that he's a great swordsman, but he's arrogant and his pride will be his undoing. Well, he introduces himself after that, as Jean-Pierre Polnareff, and Avdol says, "Well met," and then he crushes the clock table that Polnareff had made with Avdol's fire. Avdol's like, "My flames can burn in any direction," and Polnareff says he's one to talk about arrogance, and then he does this trick where his stand skewers these coins and Avdol's flames on his sword. Everyone is impressed except for Jotaro. Polnareff says this is not mere ego. His stand can cut Avdol's flames to ribbons. He brags that his stand is named for the chariot, which symbolizes victory and conquest, and basically says he wants to take Avdol outside to kick his ass. He takes Avdol and co. to nearby Tiger Balm Garden, which is like this fantastical, surrealistically painted park almost. It's really neat looking, basically. Polnareff says that Avdol will be destroyed by flames of Magician's Red, and then Avdol says because they're in an open space, he won't hold back. Magician's Red deftly dodges each of Silver Chariot's sword thrusts and counters with fire. Silver Chariot deflects the fire into a nearby statue, which is then carved into the likeness of Magician's Red. Polnareff says to show him his true power, but it'll never be enough. Avdol hits him with his Crossfire Hurricane, an ankh-shaped blast of flame. Polnareff deflects that back at Avdol and sets him and Magician's Red on fire. Polnareff gloats because he set himself on fire like he predicted. Avdol launches Magician's Red at Silver Chariot regardless, and when Polnareff makes a strike back, Polnareff realizes he merely hit the statue of Magician's Red he had carved earlier with the fire deflection. I think Avdol said he used his stand to melt it so it looked like it was moving to trick Polnareff. Avdol says that it is Polnareff who will be defeated by the power of his own stand and launches another Crossfire Hurricane, sending Polnareff backwards. Everyone thinks that the Crossfire Hurricane melted Polnareff's stand and maybe killed him, but then the armor pops off Silver Chariot and Polnareff is flung up into the air. Polnareff starts clapping and is like, "Bravo, monsieur. But guess what? My stand's armor took the brunt of the flame, and so I'm okay. Now Silver Chariot is even faster without armor." He even takes a time out to explain this to Avdol. He was floating because his stand held him up. Avdol's impressed, but is like, "Well, now it's way more vulnerable without armor, and if I hit you again, you'll die for sure." Polnareff says now he wants to show Avdol something that will really freak him out, and suddenly it looks like he has 6 stands instead of 1, but they're merely after images because Silver Chariot is so fast. Avdol struggles to hit the real Silver Chariot, merely hitting after image after after image with his red vines. Avdol is determined to kick Polnareff's ass, but the others think he'll tire himself out before defeating Polnareff. Oh, ye of little faith. Avdol is hit by the sword, but admires Polnareff's skill and precision, and Polnareff says he's been honing his skills low these last 10 years. Polnareff says his next attack will be the coup de grace, and Avdol says it's very chivalrous of him to keep telling him about his next attack, so Avdol says he'll do the same, and then he hits him with another crossfire hurricane. Polnareff seems to be winning and easily dodging everything, but suddenly there's an explosion. Avdol used the first attack of his crossfire hurricane to dig a hole in the ground that hid a secret flame to catch Polnareff off guard while he was dealing with the other Ankh pieces from Avdol's attack. Polnareff is now on fire and dying, and Avdol offers him a knife so he can end it before the fire takes him out. And I was just wondering why he didn't stop, drop, and roll. He doesn't even try. Polnareff says that Avdol beat him fair and square, so killing himself would sully Avdol's victory. Avdol snaps his fingers and sends the flames away, saying that Polnareff is too chivalrous even in his last moments to kill.
I'm just wondering if he couldn't have put himself out without Avdol turning it off. Because, like, he snaps his fingers and the flames go away. So they were, like, under his control. I don't know.
Yeah. I just thought maybe he could at least, like, try it, but he didn't even, like...
I know, he just sort of laid there.
Yeah.
I don't know that most people could do that if they're on fire, not be, like, screaming and flailing around at least.
Yeah, he was like oddly very calm. Avdol says he carried himself with honor even though he was working with Dio, and then he runs his fingers through Polnareff's hair and finds a flesh bud on his forehead, which Jotaro takes care of. He's able to yank it out and then expose it to sunlight. Joseph says that they can all be buddies now, and Jotaro groans at Gramps' terrible pun. They go to the docks to find a boat when Polnareff shows up and asks Joseph a strange question. Does he have two right hands under his gloves? Joseph's like, nope, under my glove is just a prosthetic, but why does he ask? Polnareff explains he's looking for the man who killed his sister, who he only knows by his two right hands. The man caught his sister and her friend during a rainstorm after school and raped and killed Polnareff's sister. The friend was injured but got away and was able to tell Polnareff of the man's unusual hands. Also, apparently he's like immune to the rain or getting wet or something. The man with the two right hands. Polnareff was the only one who believed her, and he had developed his stand at this point and assumed the killer was also a stand user. Polnareff has vowed to avenge her death. A year ago, he traveled to Egypt whilst looking for the killer and met Dio. He saw an image of the man in a crystal ball, and Dio was like, I can see your heart's desire, and your desire is to kick that guy's ass. I'm also plagued by misfortune because I can't go out in the sun anymore. Let's team up and you can be my agent in the sunlight. So then Dio sent the flesh bud to go into his brain. Polnareff was sent to kill Jotaro and Co. and didn't question it. Avdol says that even without a flesh bud, Dio is a master of manipulation. Kakyoin is like, if Dio knows of the killer, maybe he's under Dio's payroll as well. And then Polnareff asks if he can go along with them on their mission, and they all agree. Tourist girls ask Jotaro to take their picture, but he's predictably grumpy, so Polnareff literally takes their pictures instead. And Jotaro's like, good grief. Which is essentially his catchphrase, but that might be like the first time he says it. Yeah, and that ends the episode. So I already talked about his stand last week, I believe. So I'm going to talk about Polnareff's namesakes. He has two. He's named after French actor Jean-Paul Belmondo and French musician Michel Polnareff.
A lot of these fights, like, they talk about, like, the person being honorable or chivalrous. I guess which is why Avdol kind of was able to suspect that Polnareff had the flesh bud and then basically spared his life because he suspected it, I believe. But I just really don't enjoy the episodes where like 95% a fight and then they have like these monologues where they're explaining what they're doing during the fight and how they accomplished said move or whatever. And I kind of just feel like it was just like to add Polnareff to the group.
In anime fashion, they had to kick his ass and then he decides to become their friend.
And I'm not sure, like, if I know that, like, at 3 years prior, I'm assuming he was schoolboy age. So, like, maybe he's like 21 or something, but I suspect he's also supposed to be really young.
Yeah, I think he's like early 20s. I think Abdul's supposed to be like early 20s too, which is wild.
I kind of figured that with him too because of the hairdo, but
It says he is 24 in part 3, Polnareff.
okay.
I think Abdul doesn't have a confirmed age. They're just like early 20s. I'm like, okay.
I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on the episode?
I mean, I feel like the fights are fun to watch, but just kind of the tricksy shit everyone like gets up to in the fights is always fun, but it is a little goofy when it is like 90% of the episode is just the fight and then them explaining their moves to their opponent. They would hate me in the JoJo universe because I wouldn't explain shit.
I just
and then I kicked your ass.
wish it were a little bit like a shorter period of time and like a little bit less monologuing about like what they're about to do or
Yeah.
like the stands are kind of neat or interesting. Like they all are different looking and have different powers. And then there's always like a dummy. Like what? I don't know. Like I guess in a way it's like a little repetitive. Maybe is if the fights were like if there were some that were shorter and some that were longer and like there were some that didn't have the monologuing, like if it was a little more variety in them, like maybe it wouldn't be so they're just sort of repetitive to me, I guess.
A little, yeah.
Want me to go to the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the next episode is called Dark Blue Moon. They board a boat for Singapore for 3 days, and Gramps complains about Jotaro and Kakyoin still being in their school uniforms when a crew member exposes a stowaway. So I'm just like, I think they said in the previous episode that the Speedwagon Commission is what picked this boat, and I'm just sort of feeling like some of the people on the Speedwagon company are like punking them or something with some of these modes of transportation that they're picking for them because it's really not turning out super well.
Yeah, that might actually be a good twist, is that they have a mole.
The crew member says he will tell the captain, so the stowaway bites him and is launched into the water. I thought it looked like he threw the stowaway, but apparently the stowaway jumped in the water. I don't know. The area is infested with sharks. Jotaro's stand takes out a shark, and Jotaro himself goes to grab the stowaway when he realizes the stowaway is a girl by like creepily manhandling her chest for like way too long. I could see if he just like accidentally touched there and is like,
ah, boobs.
Oh. Something comes after them as they try to get back to the ship. Kakyoin sends Hierophant Green to grab them out of the water. They suspect it was another stand. They suspect the girl is the stand user, but then the captain shows up. Again, I think I said this to you earlier. I feel like stand user is a really boring name for what they do, or a very generic name, but I don't really know what name should be used. Maybe we'll come up with something. Maybe. I don't know.
I think you had jokingly said standy.
He had vouched for all the crewmen, but who checked his credentials? I haven't. And immediately wants to lock up the girl. She was brandishing a knife, to be fair. Although I'm like, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but she seems pretty young. And nobody seems to like care that he's just sort of throwing her in the brig or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't get that part.
They could have just like checked her for weapons and then let her do what she wanted. She wanted to go to Singapore to see her dad is what she's claiming, right?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if that's like a true story or not. We may or may not find out later. The captain grabs a cigarette out of Jotaro's mouth and puts it out on his hat, then drops it in a pocket, declaring no smoking on board. So it was kind of a rude move. He could have just said no smoking or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe let him finish that cigarette and then like, hey, there's no more. Although, have we seen Jotaro smoke prior to this? Like, why all of a sudden is he smoking? on the ship. Like, he could have maybe at least, like, asked before he lit up. But I don't know. In the 90s, I'm not sure if there was still... Is this the 90s?
It's like 87.
Like, you probably could still smoke in restaurants.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure why this guy's being so anal about it. He could be like, I'm allergic.
I mean, hell, I think even when I was, like, a kid, you could still, like, there's still, like, a smoking section in restaurants.
Well,
sometimes.
we were in Kentucky, to be fair. They were probably the last area that was like, we're going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
The Joestar group just gawp. So they were just like, they didn't really know how to react to what the captain did. Because they tell Jotaro that he was kind of being disrespectful there. But in that one instance, I don't feel like he was. The way that the man, it's not like he asked him to stop smoking and then he just kept smoking. The guy just came up and like put it out on his hat and then dropped it in one of his pockets.
Yeah.
It was super rude.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't want you dropping the cigarettes in the beautiful ocean either.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's like...
They have trash cans somewhere.
Yeah, like some receptacles. Jotaro accuses the captain of being the stand user, and while the Joestar group says it's impossible, the captain confesses he had killed the real captain and is the stand user. So, I mean, apparently, like, I'm assuming it was the Speedwagon group, vetted the crew. I think it's, 10 people?
Yeah, 10 people.
But they just took the captain's word that they were all, he'd worked with them for like 10 plus years and that all of them were cool, but they didn't check out if the captain was cool or not. They just took the captain's word, which is kind of goofy.
Yeah, but then this guy he's like an imposter captain, so he must have like looked similarly enough to the real captain to like get on board and have them not question it.
Yeah, but they didn't. They just took the captain's word. They didn't look into the captain's background. I mean, I don't know how much of a background check you can do if you're like trying to get somewhere quickly, but
yeah, with no internet in 1987,
there has to be like some kind of stand, or like they need like a Dio finder, like a metal detector. But
where's my Dio?
But for like like a. They've got like the detectors for finding like something radioactive that can run it over a person. Is there a Dio bud in this person, or are they a stand user?
They should get some like ghost hunting equipment, but for finding Dio.
Yeah, that might work since it is like kind of like an extra detector, an extra being attached to them, sort of.
Yeah, maybe they could like detect stands like you can detect ghosts.
The girl is grabbed by the aquatic stand, Dark Blue Moon. The captain says he had planned to take them out one by one, which I feel like that was a good plan. I'm not sure why he fell so easily or like he confessed so quickly.
Yeah.
Because they were going to be on the ship for 3 days. He probably could have just like taken one guy out one by one.
Absolutely.
He says he can take on all 5 of them in the water. Star Platinum attacks Dark Blue Moon before they can hit the water and grabs the girl by the arm. The captain is floating. Like, he's floating in the water, kind of like he's dead.
Yeah.
But when Jotaro tries to help Star Platinum pull the girl up, he sees barnacles are growing up him, and this is draining his energy. Jotaro falls overboard, and Hierophant Green catches the girl. The captain can talk underwater, and Jotaro can talk through his stand. The captain boasts he can hold his breath for 6 minutes. He says Dark Blue Moon's fins can spin faster than the ship's propellers. Star Platinum tries to reach the surface, but the barnacles continue to spread, and Dark Blue Moon creates a whirlpool. The others try to send their stands to help, but find the whirlpool is filled with sharp fish scales. Yeah, boohoo, they got cuts on their hands or whatever.
Save your friend, please.
They kind of like wussed out there.
Yeah, they kind of did.
They are scared to be sliced to pieces. Jotaro goes limp and the captain gloats, but Jotaro executes Starfinger and pokes the poor Dark Blue Moon in the face head. So I don't know. I think he like poked his fingers literally through Dark Blue Moon's head and face and killed it. Like, I guess I didn't say, but like Dark Blue Moon is like a fish character, kind of like, what was that movie called?
Shape of Water?
Yeah, he's a little bit like that, or like the guy in
Hellboy.
Yes. I know they're played by the same person, but
yeah.
Like, he was kind of cute. That's why I said poor Dark Blue Moon. I mean, it's not totally his fault that he has a horrible stand user like the captain.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole finger poking through the face or head thing was a little unexpected. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Captain sinks and Jotaro surfaces, but the boat blows up. They said that the captain had left behind bombs, and then everybody on board is now on 2 lifeboats when a giant ship appears. Like, it's freaking huge.
Yeah.
And then they all walk like an Egyptian.
As per usual. So, I have a couple pieces of trivia for this one. So, the captain, not the imposter, but the guy that the captain was pretending to be, was called Captain Tennille. Like Captain and
Captain
Tennille.
and Tennille.
So the girl, we never learn her name in canon, but Rocky has said her name is Anne Merli, which is a pun on merlion, the national animal of Singapore.
So doesn't she goes with them later and they don't learn her name?
Or something. I know she just went by just like Anne for a while, and then Rocky's like, yeah, I gave her a last name recently, or something like that.
I thought you were going to say like Anne Murray or something, because that's like a singer. Okay.
Rocky was like, we'll go with the pun this time. And then, of course, the stand Dark Blue Moon is inspired by the moon card in tarot, which can symbolize intuition, illusion, fear, and the subconscious. It is often there to let you know that something is being hidden from you, a secret or a deception. It is also there to remind you that fear is an illusion. It's tapped into your subconscious for answers. I'm paraphrasing some of this stuff from the booklet that came with my tarot cards. So the card that I have from the Ethereal Visions deck is a little different than how the moon card appears in the standard Rider-Waite tarot. The Rider-Waite design is a little weird. There's like a dog and a wolf howling at the moon with a crayfish emerging from the water. I always feel like the expression on the moon's face makes it look like it has a migraine. But in the deck that I have, it's just like a young woman sitting on the grass and she's kind of like stargazing, and the moon is like up above her as like part of a border on the card. So I'm not sure why they went in such a different direction with the card for that deck. But I actually, surprisingly for once, prefer the Rider-Waite design. Because it makes a little more sense to me. Even though it's a weird design.
I feel like every section of JoJo, there's like some sort of urchin. So there's this girl this time. It was like what was his name? Smokey Joe or whatever last time. And then there was Poco?
Yes, Poco, and then Smokey, and now we have Anne.
Yeah. And then they kind of like immediately decided the girl wasn't the stand user, but it kind of could have made sense that she was the stand user. I'm not sure why they I don't know. Like, because so far, other than Jotaro's mom, we haven't seen a female stand user. But I mean, I'm assuming it's possible. I don't know why they aren't showing more, or like Dio hasn't sent a lady, because it seems like they probably would just dismiss her because they have no imaginations apparently.
And then part of the reason that they were like, she can't be the stand user is because like when they brought up Dio, she's like, I don't even know what a Dio is, but like she could have been faking.
Well, I mean, she could be a big liar, because like if she's been on the streets by herself, she's probably learned to, lie and everything to like save her behind a bunch of times. I mean, the captain initially said he didn't know what they were talking about too.
Yeah. It's like she doesn't have a flashy enough outfit to be a stand user.
Like, she can't be strong enough to have a stand. She's not old enough. They kind of like gave away immediately that the captain was the stand user, though, because like he's just the way he had like on a t-shirt that was basically painted on over his muscles, and then they were kind of almost lighting it like ah when he came on, so it's like you kind of knew. Yeah,
like I said, it's like stand users. They always have, like, the most flashy outfits. So it's like, immediately I'm like, they're there! It's the stand user! And then they're like, who could be the stand user? So it's like fucking, like, those little kid show like Blue's Clues or Dora in a way where you're like, dude, they're right there.
Yeah, how do you not notice this flamboyantly dressed man? Or like, he's got muscles upon muscles upon muscles. It's like super obvious. Because like the crewman, he just looked like a normal dude.
Yeah.
He was wearing, I think, like a white shirt, and like there weren't like, like his six pack wasn't visible through his shirt kind of thing. Maybe that's why they haven't come upon a woman with the muscles upon muscles. So
I wish there was a bodybuilder lady in JoJo.
obviously that there's no way the little girl could be because she doesn't have
She has no six pack.
a 10-year-old bodybuilder build or whatever she is, 12 or 14 or I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be like.
I mean, they kind of did like a preview where like something is spying on her while she's taking a shower. So I'm not sure if she's like a little older than like what we're supposed to. Because when she's revealed, it's like she's got all this flowing hair under her hat. Like she's kind of cute or whatever. And I'm like, but.
I'm like, that's the whole middle schooler.
Comes up to you guys' waists or whatever. Like,
yeah.
So like the blue moon was, I guess I should have, I don't know. Maybe described him better, but the barnacle thing was maybe kind of a new thing where he was kind of like stealing energy from the other stand. That was kind of a new, I mean, I guess each one has like completely different abilities though.
Yeah, yes.
I'm not sure what other his abilities were other than making a whirlpool and like swimming really fast and like stealing energy, but then Gramps' one just like
makes Polaroids makes the future.
Makes a Polaroid. I don't even know if we know what his looks like, do we?
It's just kind of like vines on his arm.
Okay, so we haven't seen like a whole body of it yet.
I'm honestly not sure if he has like a whole body stand or if it's just like the vines.
Oh. I guess with the fish scales in the water, like Jotaro wasn't all like paper cutted to death by the fish scales.
Yeah, even shred his outfit.
I'm kind of just wondering the boat blowing up like as soon as the captain died thing too.
Yeah, that's a little too confusing.
And then they were like, we sent for help, but like it was like it wasn't like there was just an explosion like in a certain section, like the whole thing exploded, but somehow everyone was okay.
Yeah.
They were all okay on the lifeboats. So like they have like Walk Like an Egyptian at the end, but I'm suspecting we're not getting to Egypt until like the last episode because like they're literally crawling inch by inch across the map. They're like, we got 10 miles on that boat. And then I'm sure like all kinds of crazy crap's going to happen on this giant boat that showed up because they're going to have to rely on them letting themselves be rescued by a boat with probably a huge crew, unless it's just like haunted or something and that no one has checked out ahead of time. So I guess kind of like flying on the plane, they don't, although that plane was only like half full.
Yeah.
They're not really going to know what they're coming across, but if it is truly random, I kind of call foul that there would just be like someone from Dio like on that boat. Like, can we just have an episode where they just travel and there's not a new stand user controlled by Dio?
No filler episodes, only they get their asses kicked and then next week they do it again.
Also, we didn't find out, was the captain, I know it was a fake captain, but was he like the man on the plane who liked to kill people and so didn't really need to have the flesh bud from Dio, or did he have a flesh bud? I don't know that we found that out.
Yeah, they just didn't really mention it. I feel like after they get that one off Polnareff, they don't really like check anyone else because like you can see in the theme song that Polnareff's on there, but we don't see in Kakyoin and then the other three. But like,
so is this it? This is all we're collecting. I don't even know if the girl is on the theme song.
No, I don't think she is.
So maybe this is it.
Yeah, for this half of the season, anyways. Like it's almost like split into 2 seasons. This part, so that then we get another theme song, another set of theme songs, and all that jazz.
I don't really have anything else to say unless you want to mention the names of the next 2 episodes. I'm not sure if they're spoilers or whatever.
I mean, I guess it just spoils what the stand names are, because they're all named after.
So we are going to see some more. The ship is going to contain at least one stand user.
Yeah, actually, it looks like all the episodes I have written down, which I think I have all of the stuff from the first half, the first 24 episodes of this season, are all their stand names. So the next 2 episodes we're going to talk about are Strength and Devil.
Okay, well, the devil could be a stand. Is there
Devil's
a devil?
A tarot card, yeah.
Yeah. Well, is Strength a tarot card?
Yeah. It's the Strength one, it's kind of there's a lady and a lion, and it's kind of more even though it has the lion and stuff, it's not about physical strength, it's more about inner strength or whatever.
I don't know. I didn't really play around with the tarot cards for a super long time, and I haven't looked at them in a long time. Little girl could still have a stand. She could just be I'm not showing it to you guys.
Fuck you, I have a secret stand you'll never know.
We better not get this little urchin killed.
Be nice to your local urchins, you guys.
And they better not be creeping on the urchin either. Even if she's just tiny for her age. I don't want to see it. Maybe Polnareff will feel brotherly towards her since he lost his little sister. I'm not sure if he has other siblings, but maybe he will be protective. Although she seems angry, what's that animal called?
A honey badger? No, what's...
Maybe. Oh, I'm not
It's famous for being grouchy.
Maybe just a badger.
Yeah.
Because she seems pretty feisty.
Yeah. She has, more personality than, a lot of the female characters so far. I mean, I would say, Irina and, Lisa maybe had, decently written personalities. It's just, they just didn't get enough, focus and screen time because Rocky's just who cares about the women in these parts?
I think Lisa was written okay up to a point, but yes. Then it's they just turned her into a damsel in distress, and I just think that part was a disservice.
Absolutely.
And maybe, sometimes the woman could rescue the man occasionally.
Yeah.
And not be a damsel.
Yeah. I feel Irina could have been cool if we'd gotten to see more of her, because, she did the thing. She washed her mouth out with the nasty puddle water after Dio kissed her.
Yeah, she was pretty
and then she was, a nurse and stuff.
Yeah, she was pretty feisty, too.
Yeah. I do feel that does get a little better later on, but just kind of the beginning, maybe even I guess there's 6 parts of an anime. It's it's the first half or third of the series. It's that's super great writing for the ladies.
I mean, I guess I can see in a way, if you don't know how to write women, that maybe you just don't write them.
Yeah.
Instead of just making them kind of a cliche.
Yeah.
Or the hot chick or whatever.
Yeah.
And that that's their whole reason for being there is their hotness or, I don't know, being a love interest and they have no other personality or whatever.
Yeah. So thank you again for listening. If you get this far, maybe leave us a review if you enjoy the show and subscribe if you haven't already. I also post these on my YouTube channel, Agent of Mischief Gaming. So if you're listening to this on there, subscribe, comment. We also have another podcast called What We Pod in the Shadows about the sitcom What We Do in the Shadows, which is about some vampires who live on Staten Island and they get up to some shenanigans. Probably about a third as many episodes of that as there are of this, but if you want to hear us talk about other stuff, you have that option. I guess until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.